All right, I made it.
All right, and it's recording. So, all right, let's get this thing started. So, this is the Kirk's Pitching Performance Podcast, episode 1 with Sean Duffy, High Point University baseball pitcher. All right, give us your background, bro.
All right, so a little bit about me. Been here at High Point for this is my senior year now. Um, been here all 4 years. From like my baseball background, always played growing up. Kind of was like a bigger kid, I guess you could say, growing up in the early days, like 10, 11, 12. And that made me, I guess you could say, good back then. Um, I got to around probably like 14 years old. I really started to struggle. Wasn't really used to this, didn't really know like what I needed to do. Got real skinny. And then around my freshman year of high school, I just realized, really just not very good. Was probably throwing like 65 miles per hour. Um, and this facility had opened up right down the street from where I live called Baseball Performance Center in Pleasantville, New Jersey. Um, from there I started training probably like 5 6 days a week. Mike Adams, he was the coach there. He really helped me a lot. I quit my travel ball team, just focused for like a whole year straight of just lifting, throwing, trying to just get better because I didn't really know what it took before then from a work ethic standpoint. So just really crushed it for that year. And I think I was throwing like, I think the first bullpen I threw in there, I was probably like 72, 73. Then like I'd say 4 or 5 months later, I was probably like 77, 78, 79. And then just kept trying to get bigger and work on the throw. And I ended up like that next spring, I think I got up to like 86, 87. Then that summer I hit 90 for the first time. So it was like pretty quick jump for me. I got a lot taller, probably put on like 40 pounds, but like I didn't really realize like what I should have been eating. Probably got a little bit too chubby, all that, but got bigger, and I think that all that just helped. Then by probably the next spring, I think I was up to like 92. Um and this whole time though, I never really was pitching that well. I was kind of just I became so invested in the whole training part of baseball that I never really, like was able to actually put it on the field because all I was worried about was, oh, I need to throw this hard. I want to play college baseball, this, that, and the other. That like when the high school season came around, like there were people doing better than me through, I don't know, 78. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like I work way harder than this person. But obviously in high school, you really just need to land pitch for strikes. And I was just spraying the ball. Um, didn't really have an off-speed pitch and just trying to throw the ball as hard as I can. So that junior year, I still struggled and I was like upper 80s, low 90s, just really had no idea what was going on. Um, and then that summer, I actually pitched pretty well in travel ball. Started like figuring some things out. And then that senior year, it was the class of 2020 I graduated. So obviously COVID happened, didn't play a single high school game. So then that happened, and I really took that, what was it, 6 month period before I got to school in the fall.
Yeah.
So, absolutely just work on a ton of stuff. And it really paid off, but I think I almost wish I had that senior year because I was still so invested in that training process that I needed games to play, and I never really was that committed to the games. I was just so committed to the training. So then by the time I got to school in the fall, I really struggled. It hit me like a truck.
Oh yeah.
What?
Stay in room. That kid's moving out.
Okay. We'll cut that out. But yeah, so by the time I got to school in the fall, my freshman year, I was spraying the ball. College coach was like, dude, like we're gonna need to figure this out because I'm not gonna pitch. And I agreed. Listen to everything he said. Velo dropped a ton. I probably that spring I was probably 85 to 87. I maybe hit like 89 a couple times.
Yeah.
And that really was like a shock to me. Um because like all I cared about was velo before, but then now I'm in college just trying to like, get on the field. So, that I was trying to be too cute with the ball, place everything. But I think in the long run, this was good for me because by the time my sophomore year came, um, I got a new coaching staff the old coaching staff, parted ways with High Point, Joey Hammond, Miles Miller, Mickey Williard, they came in and, they all helped me immensely. It was kind of just like, we have no preconceived notions about anybody. We're just going to, we knew we weren't going to be that talented that year. It was just, we're going to roll out whoever. And if you pitch good, you're going to keep going. So that year, that fall, I struggled. And I really realized I was like, yeah, I need to figure it out. If not, like, I don't know if I'm going to, like, if I don't know if I'll be here the next year. So that winter, it was probably the best winter I had. I really like got to work on, my throw, mental game, everything. That spring, got the ball in a couple mop-up situations to start the year, and really took it and ran. And that was probably the best year of my career. I just stayed pretty consistent the whole year. I was really just focused on the process, and everything really paid off. So then that summer, went to the Northwoods League, played. I think I pitched a couple games there. Didn't really do that well. Didn't really think anything of it though. Then I strained my lat training that summer. So I was out all of my junior year fall. So I came back in the spring. I was throwing harder. I was probably up to like 92. So I was like, all right, I got velo back that I've had before. And I think I started looking too far ahead in the future and, thinking like, if I'm pitching this good, this will happen. Whereas the year before, I was just trying to get on the field and, just try and make a name for myself on our team. Whereas I feel like last year I was looking too far ahead in the future and not really being where my feet are. And I really struggled last year. It was the worst year of my career. And then last summer met Kirk, play with the Boone Bigfoots in CPL. That was a great time. Had some highs, had some lows, but I mean, it was a good experience. But now I just got back to campus, so hoping to have a good year.
Yeah, I mean, for those people that don't know, Duffy was our ace. He was our workhorse on the bump. Basically the only guy that could go past 4 innings for us, so that was nice. But so a lot of things that you said there that I just wanted to break down for a second because well, one, I relate to them a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people do. So first off, when you're in high school, you're just focused on velo, you're spraying the ball. I was the exact same way. And it's really hard because once you get to college, it is focused all about results. And, like they recruit you based off of your velocity, your tools, all that. So that's all you're training for. And then you get there and it's all about results. And so that's a big thing that like a lot of guys need to realize is like when, especially high school guys, you definitely have to get the velo to be there, but you also have to be focused on like actually executing, actually performing like in games. Like I used to be a guy that was like, no, that doesn't matter. It does. Like that's what you're training for at the end of the day. And I think just like keeping that in your mind while you're training is huge. So
Yeah, no, I think I literally saw it was a tweet today and it was like, it doesn't matter how much time you spend in the gym, the facility, whatever, like the only thing that matters is how good you do on the field. And like at the end of the day, like that's what you're training for. And that's what it's got to be.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. And then, the next thing is, you spoke about, some times where you were a little too focused on the future. And I've been there too. Like, I think everybody's been there. Like you're looking down the path, like, let's say, for me, it was my sophomore year. I'm worried about the spring and the fall. I'm worried about my velocity my junior year, like my like future draft year, like my freshman year. Like, why am I not worried about putting results out now? You know what I'm saying? And then winter, we can reevaluate and try to put out results for the sophomore year. But like just looking too far ahead and not staying present, that has really bad repercussions for a lot of guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, so now we're gonna get into just like some quick like discussions because we've been around the college game a little bit and also like just different facilities and stuff. So we kind of have like a little bit of an understanding of what's out there and like some of these misconceptions. So the first thing is let's talk about like some of the common misconceptions we see with the traditional like strength and conditioning and pitching philosophies of like some let's say players, but also everybody knows like at times coaches too. But like, what are the big like misconceptions out there that probably need to be reevaluated?
So off the top of my head, I think the whole idea of like, all right, let's say like you're not executing pitches or you're getting hit that day, falling behind in counts, let's say walking guys. I think that like I feel like coaches a lot of times automatically pin that on, mentally weak or like I don't know, yeah, just mentally weak. Like that jumps out to the top of my head. I think that is huge misconception.
Oh yeah.
I think mechanics and maybe stuff play into that because let's say you're spinning off and yanking and like you don't even realize it in the game.
Yeah.
Like that's going to cause you to throw more balls, maybe leave more balls middle, not throw where you want to, hang a breaking ball, etc. Like that has to do a lot with mechanics. I also see like being in control of your breath. I think that's a big part of that as well because you're not in control of your breath, you're not present. I don't think you're going to be able to like consistently be where you want to be. So you really got to like focus on that process, focus on the breath. And in my opinion, like when coaches are like, oh, he's mentally weak or whatever, like, I mean, there are cases like I've seen people, I've been there, you've probably been there, like where you're just not confident that day. And like, that's going to happen. Like you want to limit those as much as possible. But like, I think like when you're spraying it or something, like I think a lot of it, like if you're doing it for a long period of time, it's going to get in your head.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have those days, and I don't think it's always, the whole mentally weak thing. So that was something that,
Yeah.
jumps out.
And so a big thing with that is too, there's kind of a problem of your teammates might do it, you might do it to a teammate, like coaches might do it to you, of saying that you're mentally weak, and then that gets in your head and spirals. But no one ever really talks about solutions. Like, okay, like maybe I am mentally weak. How do I fix that? Like, okay, right now, I guess I can discuss some things that I think like have helped and maybe you can too. Like when you get in a place where you're really mentally weak, just means your confidence is down a little bit. You're not mentally weak, you're still showing up, but like, and you're still putting in the work. Like you still have the drive, like somewhere deep down, you still have the belief you can make it. You're not mentally weak. Your confidence is just down a little bit. So like to fix that, yeah, let's focus on actionable steps. Like that's the first thing to get rid of anxiety. That's the first thing to get rid of like all that actionable steps, breathing. You hit on that. That's a huge one. You can control your breath, and if you can focus on your breath, it can take you out of your mind a little bit when those thoughts start racing. Another thing is resets. Like you see a lot of guys that go into 2-0 counts and they just hop right back on the bump. Well, like, dude, you're a little out of control right now. Let's like calm down. Let's take a step off. Let's go look at something else. You maybe have a mantra in your head that you can point to in those situations. And let's focus on something other than the fact that, damn, I'm 2-0 right now. Like I can't find the zone. Like I'm spraying it. Like I really hope this is a strike. Like you can't hope and you can't think about that. So something that takes your mind off of that. Because a lot of times it's not that you're mentally weak. You just don't know what to do. Like you don't know how to control your mind yet. And that takes practice. And there has to be like processes in place, like actionable steps in place that you can take to fix that. So my problem with it is a lot of people like to present problems, but very few like to present solutions. So what do you think about that?
No, I've seen a tweet before. Kyle Bodie put it out and it was like coaches getting mad at players and then not addressing the solution is just like the coach being lazy.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really had to deal with that much, to be completely honest with you. I have great coaches here, but like to like not having a solution and just getting mad at the athlete, like let's say they're not very informed in baseball, but they care, like they're just looking for help, like I see that a lot, throughout the time I've been playing, and like just the guys want help, they're open to hearing it, but it's just like when they're continually struggling, like they just have no idea what to do. And I mean, sometimes like even when you have like, let's say you have your best stuff that day, or like you feel really good, you're locked in, you're making good pitches, you feel like, and you're getting hit a little bit. It's just like, and then some days you don't even feel like you're there and you're just going through the motions. And then you come out of the pen, you get 6 outs. So without letting up a run, it's just like, I've been there before. I'm just like, I don't even know how I did that. Like, but like it happens. Like you don't always need to have your best stuff, I guess. But I got to a whole nother point there, but you get what I'm saying.
That's a great point, though. You don't. You gotta compete with what you got, and like, how do you do that? Once again, you have to go out there and find something, and it's different for everybody. But like you're saying, you have to compete with what you have, and a lot of times, like, if you're too focused on your stuff, like that can lower your confidence too. Oh, because I've been there before. Like, it's not all on coaches. I've had great coaches. Like, it's not all on them. These are just things I've also seen too. But it can sometimes be on you, but you sometimes have to be your own best coach and find out why. And like for me, like sometimes I'm sitting there like, gosh, I can just like, I know my body pretty well at this point. Like I can just tell it's not there today. Like the arm just doesn't really feel alive. Like the ball, I can look at the radar gun behind me. Like the ball's not coming out that well. It's going to be hard to get 3 outs. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Like you can literally throw it in there, 84. And I don't recommend that, but I'm saying like, you just got to find a way to get out of this today and then learn from it and then move on. Like it doesn't have to be perfect every time as long as you get the job done. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move on to another topic. This is something that we discussed quite a bit this summer because Duffy here, we were kind of trying to play with like what is like the physical limitation behind like getting into that like 93, 94, 95 range. And it was like, well, first off, let's establish like when we're training, are you strong enough? Like, should we move our focus away from like strength or to like power and speed and like mobility? Or do you still have some strength gains that could like unlock some velo on the bump? So like, what do you think? You've been around a lot of guys. Like, where do you think is the point where like guys are so strong that it's really just a waste of time to keep pursuing that? Like you can start putting your training economy into some other facets, mobility, speed, etc.
I mean, I don't think there's a set number for that. Like you see a lot of that out there, like set numbers.
Yeah.
Once you get this, like focus on speed or whatever.
Right.
But I think most people don't have that base. Yeah. Like that you need to start focusing on speed more than strength.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I had to look at it, like if I was to put numbers on it, I mean, like probably can squat like two times their body weight.
Yeah, it's got to be something pretty ridiculous. Like it's a lot
it's like and most people, aren't doing that like in college baseball or in high school or whatever. So I think, I mean, you can get most of your bang for your buck from like lifting heavy and like trying to really push the barrier on the strength stuff while also incorporating some speed stuff, because I think that still does matter a lot, especially as you get like into season or your like your throwing volumes increasing. But I mean, I don't think as many people are at that threshold as they think, because I thought I was at that threshold
right
like before I like started like living with you this summer. Yeah. And then I see you you're lifting the house and you're like, dude, I don't think like you have that base. And I'm like, well, shit, maybe I don't. Like maybe I should like crush the weight room a little bit more, because I always was like, I should just focus on speed, like movement quality. But I when you change that thought process in my head, I really started to notice, like I would look around, like when I went home for the summer and started training, like I just see these kids who are throwing, I don't know, like 92 and they're like 16 years old. And I'm like, the kids look like string beans. And I'm like, thinking to myself, like these kids, like if they really like focus, like who knows how far they could go, because they're obviously freakishly mobile and like athletic and twitchy all naturally. And that's how they're throwing it this hard. But it's like, I think that a lot of kids or college kids like can get a lot of bang for their buck. But also like you see a lot of times in college, you'll see guys who are huge who throw slow, in my opinion. Like I've seen that a lot. But I think like that's a person who needs to crush movement quality, mobility, they're probably restricted somebody else if they're throwing slow and they're that big.
Yeah. So that's the big thing is like, it's kind of like a self-identification, but at some point, like most people are probably going to be kind of in the middle, like you and I are, where it's like, yeah, we could still like you're probably even better example. Like, yeah, you need to crush some strength stuff for sure. And there's like some stones unturned and low hanging fruit there, but like also clearly like we can still work on the speed. Most people are probably in the middle. There's some obvious ones where they're clearly strong as an ox, but just move so terribly. And then there's some, you see, especially with those like young top prospect high school, like top 10 PG guys, a lot of the times, like those guys are string beans and they just move really freaking well. It's like once they can get a little bit of like force production behind them, like those are the guys that end up throwing 100. So like those are easy, but most people are kind of in the middle. And that's where we can kind of get, actually, this is a perfect segue. Look, I'm getting good at this, is like the importance of a coach, because you have to have somebody identify like where exactly you're at and like kind of weed through all the nonsense. Like there's an insane amount of information on the internet right now. And like you kind of have to, and it could probably work for everybody, but like the problem is like there's something out there that works for everybody and everything probably works for somebody. But the problem is you have to figure out what works for you. And that's where a good coach can come in. Would you agree, Duff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had some great coaches that have helped me along the way, and like I wouldn't be there without them 100%. If I really never started training at Baseball Performance Center, like I genuinely, like I probably wouldn't be playing baseball right now, if I'm being honest with you. Like I had no idea what to do because my dad didn't play. My brother played till he was like 15, 16. So like I didn't really have like a good, what is it called? Like a good circle of people
Yeah.
like be around that. Like I knew what to do.
Yeah.
So like when I started training with them, I actually like got an understanding of like a plan and like what it looks like to like train to like try and throw harder, try and be better at pitching, try and have better stuff. Like the importance of a coach is astronomical because give you guidance on literally everything.
Yeah. No, couldn't agree more. Like that was the same thing for me. Like my dad didn't play. Like very few people like in my town like played at a really like elite level. Like I really had to go, and I went to the North Carolina Baseball Academy, kind of like you went to BPC, and like got around like a group of people that like knew what they were doing. And then I learned even more on my own, as did you. Like that's kind of how it has to work, because it's damn near impossible if you don't really have like good influences. And most like parents out there, like they're all meaning well, but for the most part, they really have no idea what they're talking about. So if you're just listening to like your dad or something, like that's normally not going to end well. When it comes to baseball, everything else, definitely listen to your parents. But anyways, let's see. Let's go through some rapid fire stuff. All right. Stuff for command, Duff.
Stuff or band.
Stuff for command. You have to pick one. Like let's say control is kind of it's there like with the stuff, but they're not Greg Maddux in it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I mean, I'd rather have stuff.
No doubt. You gotta have the stuff,
Yeah,
right?
without a question. I mean, stuff will get you paid, and I mean, you'll pitch better if you have stuff. So, I mean, it's just harder to hit the ball when it's harder.
Yeah. So there's like I would completely agree. And I think now most people would agree, but then there's still some out there that are like, no, it's exactly like guys can't hit like an outside fastball. Like the hitter doesn't know where you're trying to aim. So like if you aim middle and you miss up, like that might have been a perfect pitch. Like just because you aimed low and outside and hit your spot doesn't mean that the hitter can't hit that pitch. So that's kind of my thing with like kind of you can, if you have stuff, you can set up middle, miss a little bit, and as long as you're throwing enough strikes, like you should be all right. But let's go favorite lift and then favorite mobility exercise.
Favorite lift, really came around to bench press this summer. Definitely the favorite one. Also like to mix in some curls, some arms. Love those. But and then what was it? Favorite pitch?
No. Well, yeah, go ahead and do favorite pitch.
Favorite pitch, change up. And then what was the other thing?
Favorite mobility exercise.
Favorite mobility exercise. I'm gonna go with the T-spine bridges now.
Oh yeah.
I've came around to those. I held one for 30 seconds today for the first time.
That's elite, dude.
Like, so those you definitely make progress on them quick if you're
Yeah.
like doing them every day. And, like,
For people that don't know what he's talking about like a back bend where you got your hands like that on the ground, and it's called a bridge or a back bend. It just depends on who you're talking to, but that is that's something you really improved at, because like when we first did it, like you could barely get off the ground, right?
yeah, exactly. Like it was terrible.
Yeah, but
But
those are
I've been doing a lot of like breathing stuff, like in the, like box breathing, like pushing your arms to the ground,
yeah.
then some more T-spine extension stuff, and then just like hanging every day. And like
Oh, yeah.
that's just improved that like as it's went on. I just try and hold it for like 2 sets as long as I can every day. So like it's definitely improving.
Yeah, I love that. Like right now, some of my goals, like almost, like I said, I don't really like goals, but when I like the goals I do have are just like they're not about pitching. They're about like holding different things for as long as I can, because it's just fun to kind of set. I would call them milestones, not goals, but like I'm trying to right now I'm trying to hold a like a front split, like basically like legs off the ground, but kind of like supporting it like that for like 2 minutes. That's gonna be my goal. It's gonna be hard. And then the other one's hang for 2 minutes, because I think my hang's like a minute and a half and it's stalled there for like years. So let's see if we can like improve it a little bit. What's your hang at right now? Do you know?
Hang, I haven't tried to like max it out.
Yeah.
I only really go for like 30 seconds. I'll just do a couple sets every day,
Yeah.
but I've been able to like now like I can actually hang from my right arm like single, because before I could only do it with my left arm.
Yeah.
But my right arm, I guess, so much tighter just from all the throwing. I can actually hang from it for maybe like 5 seconds. But like,
Is it getting extended a little better?
nah, it's still crooked.
That's crazy, dude. Oh, that's funny. All right. Best hitter you have ever faced.
Best hitter I've ever faced. Jeez. I'm trying to think. I mean, Zach Neto. Zach Neto.
Oh, yeah, Campbell, right?
Yeah, Campbell guy. Zach Neto.
He's in
Yeah,
the bigs now, right?
yeah, he's in the bigs of the Angels like 1 year after getting drafted out of Campbell, but he was the real deal whenever we played against them.
Oh, yeah. That's a dog. That's crazy. Do you face him, like you pitch against him?
I faced him twice, 0 for 2.
Okay. That's crazy.
He
Well,
probably
what?
2 or 3 home runs that weekend though. So
Yeah, hit 2 or 3 home runs and you got him out twice. That's pretty crazy, though. Was it change-ups? It was definitely change-ups.
sliders.
Sliders?
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, anyways, Duff, that about wraps it up. This has been really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
We're gonna have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But anyways, all right, man. Well, have a great rest of your night. Really enjoyed it. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. For all the people, there's gonna be like website and all the socials in the description below. All right. See y'all.